Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ISO podcast. I hope while we were in between episodes, everyone was as productive as they'd hoped. And if not, maybe some of our conversation today will inspire you to knock the dust off of your project or maybe prototype out a new one. My guest today is a hungry indie developer with many titles under his belt, many jams under his belt, and he's a fairly young guy. His games tend to be action games. What's that?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. I'm introducing you, man.
All right.
His games tend to be action games and dripping with juice. He was recently working on Punchgolf, and before that, Bubbun, and plenty of other stuff before that. With us today from the UK is Mr. Salman Shurie. Thank you for sharing time with us today.
I am happy to be here.
You participate a lot on the Discord server. I feel like you contribute a lot of dialogue there, and a lot of. I mean, and I feel like you're a fairly young guy with a lot of knowledge, and it's a good place to learn from you. And then also your Patreon.
Oh.
So for those who don't know who Salman is, you frequent game jams. It appears. Is that a good part of your learning process these days, or is it boredom, or is it brute force out some creativity, or?
At first, it was a way for me to try to get at. Whenever I'm working on a project for too long, I feel like I'm in a rut. So I try to quickly jam out something or prototype based on like what thing I want to learn.
Yeah.
So I think my previous jam was trying to do like a better AI system, and I came up with a game where you're aiming with an empty gun, scaring these other red guys that could shoot you down instantly. And it was the way I got started with even doing jams in the first place was, it's just fun. My university, I think the way I got started into game jams was through Global Game Jam.
Okay.
So I think, and during my first year of uni, my university ended up becoming a site for Global Game Jam, and I got told, come join in, and my dumbass chose to join in a game jam with a couple friends that knew nothing about making games. We didn't use anything to make sure that we could collaborate and share quickly. So I was putting in all the assets myself, and they were just trying to quickly make something. It was a complete mess, but I learned a lot.
So what you're saying is you carried them.
Oh, hell yeah. For some reason, I added a door where you could kick, and it broke the door and made physics went crazy. So the whole game broke.
Oh, gosh. What did you build it in?
It was in Construct 2 at the time. It was my first time trying to use Construct a bit more after trying to learn to code using Unity.
Yeah. Do you think that's changed how you work with people now?
Oh, hell yeah. Well, I guess it reinforced the idea that I wanted to work solo at the time. So much that I tried to learn everything, become a jack of all trades, and in the end, becoming a master of nothing.
No.
Master of juice.
Yeah, I'm about to say you are at least master of juice at this point, but you do, I will say your AI stuff is pretty impressive. I was looking at the shooter game last night, and I had actually thought about, that's something you can buy, correct? It's a template.
Yeah, I think people can get access to the source code by just being a patron.
Okay.
But I've got a lot of projects on there that I've had people say, why don't you just release it separately?
Yeah.
Let's buy it, please. I beg you. And the only reason it's not up is because I can't be bothered to create assets, store asset pages and stuff. Getting mixed up and working on other stuff as well. So, yeah.
So, I gotta say, and I've said it before, I love your unique art style, and that seeps into your games a lot. It's really recognizable and juicy. Oh, have you tried Code Manu's smear effects?
Oh, smear effects. I think
it's been out for like 3 days. I think.
Oh no!
Oh.
I think I was originally using. So with my animations, the way I smear is basically through squash and stretch by code.
Oh, really?
And, yeah.
Oh.
But the reason people don't notice it, because it's not that obvious, because the character always stretches back to the original size in like 0.1 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. So it's all on the sprite or all on the player sprite that you're doing.
Oh yeah.
That.
Oh yeah. And but that's because I don't like to make animation heavy games. It's all usually done by code.
Interesting.
But before that, I was using a program called HazeFrame, which would take like a bunch of keyframes and then try to make as many in between frames as possible. But because of some artifacts that it would cause, it would make a natural smear frame, and I used that before.
Yeah.
So much.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that perform?
Program's gone.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you repeat again? The program that I was using called HazeFrame, since it messes up the frames as it tries to create lots of in-between frames, it makes a natural smear frame, but no one can get that program anymore without going directly to the developer and asking, "Hey, is it still available? Can I get it?" Yeah, I asked the developer behind it. He made that tile setter program. You've probably heard of it.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know offhand.
Well, it was a great program that the developer just said, "Screw it, I'm not working on that. I'm not going to fix all the artifacts that come out of it."
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like these, the ones that come off the top of my head are the ones from CodeManu, the Juice Effects and the Pixel Effects Designer or whatever. I think those all kind of have artifacts too, right? You get weird little extra pixels and stuff that you have to kind of remove later. But they're really good. I feel like they save me a lot of time. But man, that's really surprising. I didn't think you did it with code. That means you're doing a lot of lerping.
Oh, hell yeah.
So how does that add like a noticeable amount of CPU overhead?
Yeah, if you go a little bit too crazy there, I only just it only happens if the player character, an animation sprite isn't at its image size, basically. So and if it's on screen, so less overhead that way.
Yeah. Huh. And so are you you're currently working on multiple projects? You're working on your own stuff.
Yeah.
You're still working on Gun Golf, or is that done?
Yeah, it's done. It's just I'm waiting on a good release date that I don't want to push it out too soon and suddenly think, oh, this and that's going to happen. Oh, I need to fix that bug.
Yeah.
I need to add promotional stuff to it. But yeah, right now I'm just trying to get paid before I start really pushing the game.
Yeah, it's really, it looks really fun. I was going to say, are you allowed to talk about your other project?
Which one? Because I've got way too many.
the only other one I know of. The only other one I know of, let me look up the name here. It had a Kickstarter, I believe.
Oh, Orange Island.
Orange Island. Yeah.
By Ted. Yeah. I did some work on it, like a commission basis before the Kickstarter was even mentioned, about, I think, 6 months earlier. And it was just like, at first it was just like miscellaneous stuff, like, make the controller work with like a NES controller, gamepad, and other stuff.
Wow.
And yeah.
Was there a lot of trial and error with that? Were you already familiar with the NES?
Oh, no. It was just basically setting up. It was already set up by the browser.
It was using a USB NES controller.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It basically just took it as an X input, so it was dead simple.
Oh, okay, I see.
It was a complete accident of how it works. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. So for the people that don't really know about that project, it's essentially going onto an NES cartridge, correct?
Well, I'm not handling any of that. I think it's something separate.
Yeah, but they're planning on it, I think.
Speak on it. Yeah. I think that's what I saw, yeah.
Very interesting. It's kind of adds a whole new thing to indie development and considering how we're going to release our games after we complete them. I'm actually curious how popular that is, how much people would like to buy something like that, or how many people still have an original NES to play it.
I'm guessing a lot, just based on, like, if you search retro gamer on YouTube, you'll probably find like 50 YouTubers, 100 YouTubers playing the same game. I'm playing Super Mario Bros. NES edition. Yeah.
A lot of my inspiration for the stuff that I make is kind of Super NES or NES. And I kind of wonder, I mean, you have all these softwares like FamiTracker and Chiptunes and they export these audio files that are basically like a MIDI, right? But it only speaks to the NES as far as playing back music or sound effects or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Because I think I'm hated for this joke statement that I always make about chip tunes, where I say it hurts my ears. I don't want to hear it.
Oh.
All the
you're
bites
not
taking
alone.
a bite out of my ear.
You're not alone. I often wonder how many people that didn't grow up in that era just hate that stuff. My wife definitely doesn't like it that much.
I didn't know that many people even dislike it. I thought it was like a massive thing that people liked. Or got nostalgia for was it Super Mario soundtrack themes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, since we're on this topic, what was your first game that you recall falling in love with?
Oh, if I'm on it. Oh, wait. No, if I think about it, it's probably a Flash game. But
your first game was a Flash game?
Probably, yeah. I never had a console until I was like 10.
Wow.
Or something. Yeah, and the first game that I ever played on console was Kingdom Hearts, and that game is juicy as hell. Holy moly. Just looking back, I just remembered, oh my god, no wonder.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of Final Fantasy, or all I saw was Disney. I want to play Disney, and then got introduced to anime a bit through that after, but that was more after I got into Dragon Ball. Yeah, okay. I don't want to go, I was about to go off topic there.
I never got into Dragon Ball. I have noticed on the Discord server that a lot of people are really into anime, and that's one thing that I haven't really gotten into. And I don't know if it's just because I've seen bad ones.
I swore off watching anime for the past like a couple of years now. Because I just prefer reading the manga, but I'd probably be called a snob for that. It's just I don't want to watch any. I got burnt by all the fillers that was in Naruto, One Piece. I didn't have the power to dilute space and time to watch them.
Yeah, there's a lot of, they kind of cheat a lot of stuff, right? Like, I feel like it's 4 frames per second all the time.
No, yeah, I forgot.
Like it looks great. Yeah. 1 frame looks great, but it's like barely moving.
Oh yeah, just the mouth moving while the background pans behind them.
Some people can look right past that, but it's hard for me to. Maybe it's because I'm sort of a filmmaker in that sense, but and you were too.
Yeah, I had a list of passions that I wanted to do before I ended up wanting to become a game developer instead. I think at first I wanted to become an animator, and I kept trying to draw, tried to figure out how to animate. Then I found out that animating is so freaking tedious.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then I thought, I don't know what to do. Maybe I want to become a filmmaker, since maybe it's a lot easier and I get to
it's a lot easier.
Yeah. And I enjoyed movies. So I tried learning all the things that I could, and then because of that, I can't just watch a movie without analyzing the hell out of it and saying, oh, it worked because of the cinematography here. Oh, the timing of this music, blah, blah, blah. Is it diegetic or non-diegetic?
Yeah.
Mise en scene, blah, blah. Yeah.
Actually, for those people that don't know what the word diegetic is, we talked about this before. Can you explain to them what diegetic means?
So I think the quickest way to explain it is a sound that's part of the world, and non-diegetic is not part of the world. So let's say a radio playing in the background in the scene versus a music track just playing that's not coming out of anything inside the scene. I don't know. Did I explain it right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. That it also applies to sound effects, things that don't sound like the real world. They can also sound design sometimes like something that can't be really placed to something in real space. Yeah. But like, it's pretty good. It's a word I use a lot when I'm speaking to filmmakers. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't know that word, but it's a good word to know.
it's quite funny to see some game developers that don't hear it as often. As soon as they hear me say someone say diegetic, they go, "Oh, thank you. There's someone that actually knows about this."
Yeah. And I bet that helps you a lot in your polish, because I feel like we watch a lot of TV and films, and sometimes when you're playing indie games, there's just a complete lack of polish. And you get sort of used to just not seeing it. And so when you see an indie game that one person's made with tons of polish, your games look great. Another one that comes to mind is Iconoclast. Just a lot of polish, and it really makes them stand out. And I wonder how much filmmaking has to do with noticing and paying attention to those little things.
To be honest, I hadn't thought of things like that whenever it's more like a gut feeling that you get. So usually, I think I remember this Miyamoto quote or something where someone said he spent like half the development time or less on just the movement, Mario's movement, and trying to make it feel as good as possible before they went on to doing other things.
Yeah.
And I try to, that's usually the first thing that I try to do in my games. If the general movement of the player doesn't feel good, it's probably not going to go past like that stage unless it does. Yeah. The project's dead.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
if 95% of what you're doing isn't very good, then you're going to get tired of it pretty quick.
Oh yeah, and lots of complaints. Maybe someone saying, I think I remember reading a Steam refund quote where someone said the controls were as slippery as your mom from a developer. Yeah. And that made me laugh so hard. But people really, really hate control. If it doesn't feel good, you're gonna get some complaints and some insults in there too.
Yeah. Also, how does he know how slippery your mom is? That's messed up. That's great. You seem to take criticism pretty good, though. That's great.
Oh yeah.
It's also a big strength to have when putting stuff out there in the world.
Oh yeah. If I can't see the bad, it's probably something must be really, really wrong. That's what I usually think, and it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
As much as,
Yeah. No one is infallible.
Oh yeah.
That's so funny. Who knew your mom joke would still be that funny to this day?
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about Mario, and I've thought about how Mario plays. I'm sure a lot of game developers have gone back and played the original Mario and tried to sort of learn something from it.
The funny thing, I've never done that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I might have, because someone put it on once somehow, a friend, and I tried like the first level, then dropped it, never touched it again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, it is something. Yeah, and you know what? Actually, what you were just saying earlier is what inspired me. I think I had heard a story about him spending tons of time on the controls, and I just wanted to sort of see if I could get a feeling of that. And so I went back and played it, and I was like, "Oh man, yeah, it is very focused on this controls, but it's kind of like you're running on ice. He kind of slides around. There's like a delay in a lot of the input, but it's also like." I don't know if it's because I grew up with it. I am very good with jumping around with that control, but I don't know if a modern game could do that. Oh,
it definitely can't. I think a couple of years ago, I tried to play on an emulator one of the old Mega Man games.
Oh, yeah.
And the delay made, I think it was a Game Boy title. I tried to play it, and the input lag killed it for me.
Yeah.
So much it was unplayable.
Ooh.
Yeah. Couldn't get past like the second level.
I don't know if I ever felt that from those games, but I'm probably biased because that was like my era, you know? That was like the first games I played was on that controller with those lags probably, so.
Oh, wait, I can't believe I forgot this. The first game I actually played was actually the original Rayman games.
Oh, yeah? On PlayStation 1?
Oh, yeah. Holy crap. Looking back at it, that game is difficult.
Yeah.
Everything, it's like a slight swipe could kill you.
And also, they did something different. That was kind of one of the first games that used different it was using, it was using joints, like And that was probably pretty complicated at that time. I never played it. It's all platformer, right?
Oh yeah. Also, the new ones are really good, and I played it with my brother, and it was very fun. Yes.
Okay. Did they release on? Did it release on PlayStation?
Yeah. Then they released the Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins. Those games are really fun. They really took out they made the game way easier. I'll just say that the game is a lot easier than the original.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if I like that or dislike that. Right. On some level, there's this sort of thing now where it's like, well, games are smarter now, and they want you to have a funner time. But there's also something about having to get good sometimes.
Oh yeah.
That I kind of miss. That's a weird. That's a hard line to walk.
Oh yeah, I feel that a lot sometimes as well, and then I punish myself with some Dark Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, can't do it. I used to play Rocket League, and I punished myself too because everybody was so good and a lot of jerks too. But I can't do it. If it makes me super frustrated and I find myself not enjoying myself, then it's not really worth my time, I guess. But what are you playing now? I called you the other day and you said you were about to start up a game, and I was really annoying because of that.
No. Oh no, you weren't.
Be honest, I was annoying. I called you. You wanted to play the latest whatever you're playing. What are you playing right now?
Overwatch. I think I've been going in and out to that game since it came out.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What is reeling you back?
I think it's just having that consistency and controls or something. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the progression. Maybe it's the little drops, the loot boxes that's making me come back. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And I probably end up leaving very mad when I shut down the game. So.
All right. Are you a rage quitter? Is that common?
No. If I was a rage quitter, I'd be admitting to losing a lot, which I don't. I always win, never lose.
Never. I never lose. You typically end your night with cursing somebody out and then jumping offline, probably.
Oh, no comment.
You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. I'm not trying to embarrass you. So you're playing Overwatch. That actually makes sense. Your games are very action focused. Have you played the new Spider-Man at all?
Not really. No, I haven't. I haven't been playing on console or anything for the past 2 years now. I feel I enjoy just working on it more, working on my games.
Yeah.
Rather, yeah. Or just no commenting on Overwatch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I find myself doing that a lot, and I don't know if it's a good thing. I feel like I have to force myself to play a game. It's like, stop developing. You don't even know what a game feels like anymore. Sit down and play a game and just enjoy it. Sort of tune out. I have to, yeah, but even still, like maybe an hour or two into it, I'm like, all right, back to dev. Let me, break out my laptop and do this thing.
I know one thing that happens the most whenever I play a game is I want to replicate a certain aspect of it. So I think if you maybe you've noticed, I tried, because you noticed that I'd like to make a lot of action games, right? Yeah. And I always try to incorporate some kind of something to the movement to make it feel different. So I never like to just be like a straight platformer that's just jumping or whatever, or just. So I like to mix things up, and Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the parkour in that game so damn much that I kept trying to incorporate parkour, whatever, into everything into everything. I was walking home from school, hardcore parkour, and working on a game, hardcore parkour.
You're jumping over trash cans, inspiring yourself.
Yeah, yeah, knees up.
Leapfrogging people walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah, and I always try to incorporate an aspect of whatever I liked or played or watched into something that I'm making here and there, be it unconsciously or consciously. It's always a fun exercise. but it ends up making me make so many damn prototypes that I end up throwing away or for having too big of a scope.
Yeah.
That I try to stop myself from,
That's
going
common
too
though.
deep. Yeah.
Right? I think everybody does that where they're like, they have a great idea and then it just is too big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the list of games that I wanted to make and ended up dropping just due to that behavior.
You have a list?
Oh yeah. I think I had one where it was like one was about actually. Now I've got a small list actually. Yeah. Some I archived them because I thought I'm never going back to them. I think I had one that was about being a wolf that plays basketball, and that was because I watched some Space Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I had one game about being a baseball player, but you're inside a dungeon. So imagine if Spelunky, but it's a character that was a baseball player. Just batting things and fighting, being surrounded by monsters wearing baseball caps and anything that's related to baseball.
What?
Yeah.
Interesting. That would probably be good. It sounds weird, but it sounds fun.
Oh, yeah. And there's a bigger list, but I don't have it on me right now.
It's cool.
Yeah.
You know, why I had brought up that Spider-Man thing, I feel like that might inspire you a little bit. I don't really play it. My wife does. And I've just been watching how their fight system works. And it kind of reminds me of Sleeping Dogs a little bit. Did you ever play Sleeping Dogs?
Yeah, I think that was one of the few games that I completed.
That game was so good.
Yeah.
I beat it like 4 times. So good.
I had so much fun just getting my head out to the window and shooting at the wheels.
Oh, yeah.
It was satisfying to see the cars like go crazy.
For me, it was the beat 'em up part. It was like you felt untouchable. You could jump into like the middle of 30 people trying to beat you up, and it felt so satisfying countering attacks and throwing people. And
I actually felt the opposite.
oh yeah,
it felt so stiff.
oh
Like
wow.
you had to be in a specific place to make sure an animation attack actually worked in a specific way, and it felt too stiff. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. It's weird how we have polarized opinions on that.
But that's probably just due to having played the Batman games, which
maybe.
had similar combat. But yeah, it ends up becoming monotonous in a way. I don't want to go into that discussion. I don't want to get some angry comments.
Nobody talks bad on Batman.
Yeah, rock steady, has always been steady. I'm getting things right. Damn you.
Burn in hell.
Yeah.
No, Spider-Man is really impressive, and I wonder how much I can incorporate that into my current project. Maybe watch some gameplay of it. I'm curious later what you'll say about that. It is really engaging. And you can also kind of see where they're cheating it, and they're not allowing 10 people to hit you at once, but you kind of forget. You don't really notice that they're not hitting you at once.
Oh yeah.
It does it really well.
I remember watching some video about AI, and I think Doom incorporated some aspect of it where it was like action, how many enemies can hit you at one time if there's like loads of enemies on site. And I think they had something like, the higher the difficulty, the more enemies that attack you at the same time. And that's actually quite interesting. I think that's how some other games do it.
Doom is like a whole nother level of genius AI. Even though they were kind of simple, if you look at some of how they used to randomize the enemy's difficulty and stuff, it's really intricate. I wish I had more of that information on me to analyze it better. But did you play Doom?
I think, the original, I think I played for like a couple minutes and never picked up again.
Yeah. Especially with modern games now in your brain, it's like, wow, I can only aim straight forward, and no matter where I shoot straight forward, it shoots up or down for me. Okay.
Yeah.
It
felt, that's the experience I had when I tried it for the first time. Why can't I aim up? Or how is my aim so good that I'm shooting directly at the person who's high in the sky, that I'm not directly looking
Yeah, but that game was juicy. That game
yeah.
there was a whole lot of juice, man. And that UI was very juicy. I've tried to do something like it with a player character where you see his face animated as you run around and do stuff, but man, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, we were talking about game jams.
Oh, yeah.
In the future, are you still going to do game jams?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Always. But that's only if there's no important deadline in the way. And that's how it's been for a while.
Has working with people in school scared you away from doing a game jam with me?
Oh, no. I think, to be honest, I haven't actually explained how I started trying to make everything on my own. And the start of it was actually that first game jam that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Where I was saying, how it was like a mess and everything. And the second year, I tried to work with like a small group of people that were experienced making games, and that was not a great experience either. We ended up with like a game that was a bullet hell, but all the art was like side-scrolly, or some parts of it weren't, and it looked all wrong. And I ended up having like lots of like arguments about little things, like, that doesn't make sense, let me do this, come on, blah blah blah, code this, that. And I said, screw it, I'm not going to do anything like this again. And then I think a year later, the same global game jam, I actually succeeded on making a whole game by myself. And it was a game about dads playing with their kids' toys in a daycare center.
What?
Yeah, and it ended up quite fun. And I didn't win anything because my game did not make sense with the theme, according to the judges. And I was a bit mad about that. The theme was waves, but what about cars hitting into each other is about waves? That's what they said to me. And and I just said, I added bullets these turrets that move around in the level that shoot at you. See, that's waves. You could have let me have that? Nope. Oh my god.
That's funny.
Yeah.
When they collide, it makes shock waves.
Oh yeah, and I think it was like a drawing all over the floor as well. It was about these. The idea was, these dads can't get their kids to eat their vegetables, so they use the vegetables as paint all over the floor with the cars. And it was like I was trying to mix in what I thought Splatoon was about, and adding like little race cars and putting them together while trying to do all fake 3D stuff. It was quite fun.
That's I haven't done game jam, and that's I think what everyone's that hasn't done one, they're probably a little bit afraid of. Mm-hmm. But I think you probably have to have that a little bit. Not everyone is strong in the same areas, and maybe that sort of helps iron out where you're strong and where you can benefit the team more.
Mm-hmm. I think there was some advice. There was this one advice, I don't remember where I heard it, but it's always helped me so damn much when it comes to working on a project. And actually two pieces of advice. One was pick the last idea you come up with. So the first idea, someone else probably has that idea, so try to remix it further and further. So let's say you have a game about lights. You'd probably think, let me make a game where you hold a torch. No, what about, and then you think, no, someone else probably thought of that. Okay, what can I do with the torch? You're a torch. Next idea is you're a torch. Go light people on fire by trying to give them a hug. Now you have a fantasy to it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you're an arsonist, but you're not on purpose. You're just being a nice arsonist.
That's pretty, yeah.
Yeah,
no, that sounds. I'm actually going to use that now.
Good luck.
That's a great technique. I'm making that game tomorrow.
And the second piece of advice was having a strong fantasy, as I just mentioned just before that. Yeah. And that's helped me a lot. The thing that it helps the most out with is if you wanted to make people have some sort of attachment to a game. So I think you interviewed Richard Lems before, right? And his game is about being a goose with a buster gun attached to its wings, and that has a strong fantasy to it.
Yeah.
And people want to be that shooting duck, shooting everything, throwing Molotov explosives, or is it riding a one-wheel space bike? Strong fantasies are very marketable, I'll say.
Yeah, and it's different. You know, people want to try something that they haven't done before. Why am I trying to play Mario 7? You know, it's already been done, and probably by people that have done it better. So do something on your own. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think Tyne and Sylvester talked about that on the podcast too a little bit. It's like sucking people into the environment and into the world, and give them and then placing things in it that
aren't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that if you can get the player's imagination going, it usually they can come up with something that's way better than you ever imagined. But trying to imagine that actually ends up making them want to play it more.
Yeah.
I think that's one strong thing about games with strong fantasies. It's that aspect that pulls you in and can pull you right out if you don't pull it off correctly.
Totally. Or if you have none of it. If you have zero world building, it's like... a game that does that really well that I still remember that you would probably hate is called Out of This World.
Out of This World.
It's also called Another World, depending on what it was released on. But
I think I played a mobile version of it.
Yeah, probably. And, it's like you're on another planet,
scared
right?
me a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
the
clunky.
animation is so cool, though.
Yeah, the animation does a lot. The world building is so strong that it kind of, you forgive the clunkiness of the controls. And it's so hard. Yeah. And people love that. That was a classic game that I don't think could be made today. But the world building really, I think, brought people back and made them keep trying. Yeah, they did it really well. Yeah,
and also at the start having like a little chase sequence.
Yeah, it's very cinematic. Ooh.
Yeah, it gets you right in quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the first, what's the first cutscene? Doesn't he pull up in a DeLorean or a Ferrari or something?
Yeah, it's like it's the strongest imagery it gives out as soon as you see it.
Point to a scientist that drives a Lamborghini or a Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean they don't, but it's so ridiculous. But, interesting. Yeah, they did it. They did it pretty good. I made the mistake of trying to play that game all the way through. And
okay, then you definitely have
with an emulator. Yeah, it's I don't man, the story's cool, but man, it's so hard. Those old games were unfair hard.
Oh yeah.
Thank God for modern games and progress.
And lots of RAM.
Yeah. Oh man. You're also strong in Unity.
Yeah.
Are you?
I think that was the first game engine that I used to actually learn how to code before I learned other programming languages.
Yeah.
That I was forced to in uni and ended up hating.
Yeah, I was gonna say you did a game jam in uni, and I was thinking they use Construct.
Oh no, I was the one who's using it. Before. I was using it to prototype quickly, but it was like some super bad games. I think I don't even know. I think I tried to release a game just before I joined university and using Construct 2, and it wasn't very good. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It was. I think I showed you the GIF of it as well.
Did you?
Yeah, I think a couple. Actually, I remembered. Just a few months ago, someone said, "No way, you didn't release this game. Someone else did," and I was really surprised that someone actually saw my crappy game somewhere.
Wow.
And and I was actually quite, I don't know what's the word. I was baffled in a good way that someone was basically saying, "Oh, you wouldn't make something as bad as this." In a way, take it as a backhanded compliment.
You couldn't have made that. It's terrible.
Yes, it has on-screen buttons. What's wrong with you?
It has on-screen buttons. Was it a mobile game?
Yeah, I was trying to. I think at the time I made it, it was okay for the people listening. It was a game about just dodging water that drops on you, massive water droplets. That was the whole core game loop. And the reason I even made it in the first place was, the success of Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
I was looking at that game, and I was looking at that game thinking, what the hell? I could have made that. I could take less than a day. Watch me do something. Here you go. And that crappy game was made.
That's probably how all bad games are made. Shoot, watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me make this super sick game.
Yeah. Watch me make Minecraft, but better than yours.
Man, I can make Minecraft.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
Just give me 2 years. It'll be about voxels and going to planets.
Yeah. Oh, man. And there are still a lot of those games coming out to this day. I mean, I don't know if there's a strong community that just plays those games, but I have a feeling people just want to play Minecraft. They don't see a cube voxel game and go, oh, this is like Minecraft with zombies. So now, I'm gonna spend $14 on Minecraft with zombies. I don't know if there's that many people that.
Mm-hmm. I think most of those people who like to try to do that now might have gone to using Roblox.
Oh, and yeah.
The whole ecosystem is super weird to me.
Yeah, my brother just recently, not recently, a few months ago, told me about Roblox, and I still don't know if I understand it. Is it kind of like? Did you ever play Little Big Planet?
Yeah.
Is it kind of like that?
I love slapping my brother when I was playing with him, and you could just slap the other sack boys in the game. I kept doing that so many times. So it's quite fun. Yeah, I think it's a bit like that, but it's more like a game engine to itself. Roblox.
So there's scripting and stuff involved.
Yeah. I think I've heard of some people making bank off Roblox.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. Oh, give me a second. Sorry, my little brother came in and.
No, it's cool. Let him join in.
I kicked him out. It's fine. Well, he's the one that plays Roblox.
I heard you talking about me. Get the hell out of my room.
You heard that?
Oh, no, I didn't hear it, but I'm guessing it was something along those lines.
Oh, yeah. You guessed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing that surprised me the most was I think I saw my little brother went on Roblox. The first thing that I heard was copyrighted music, and I was thinking, why hasn't UMG clamped
shut
hard
this
on
down?
Roblox?
Yeah, cease and desist.
But I think the ecosystem of that game is so big, filled with so many throwaway games that
it's impossible to please.
Yeah, people aren't in there for too long to even care. I think there's always like some game that has the same name as the most popular game on there. So if you search Fortnite, you'll probably find like 100 Roblox games that have the name Fortnite in them. And I think, but there are some games on there that look really good. I think there's one called Jailbreak, and you get to choose to role play as a cop or a prisoner, and it's actually quite fun. It's like an open world game, and it's just like real people trying to stop you.
You have to buy Roblox, right?
Yeah,
it's like a game you buy and then you just play them for free. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I think all the games are free, and they try to incentivize using Robux to buy things in the games.
Oh.
So usually it's just cosmetics.
I see. It's all
Mm-hmm. And that's how the developers on there make their money, just converting those Robux into actual money.
Yeah,
And
that's I don't know how deep into that I'm gonna get. I thought it was interesting when my brother had mentioned it to me, but I don't know if it sounds like kind of throwaway single serving games.
oh yeah. I think there was actually a game, a zombie shooter that's on Steam that's using Roblox. That was the most popular.
You can do
around the
that?
time. Yeah, I think so, but I never really checked.
Yeah.
I never played that game, but it was super popular around the time. Survival games were like booming.
Yeah.
Early access survival games were booming. Yeah.
You know, we're talking about these bigger games. You were talking about playing Overwatch, and now I'm curious. Did you ever try Game Guru?
Game Guru. I think by the time I saw it, I was actually already into I've used Unity for a while by the time I heard of it, and I was not the slightest bit interested in trying it, because I thought, it looked like it was completely what was it, constraining, so as you can't do much.
Yeah, it's a lot of asset flipping type of stuff happening. Yeah. I got it because there was like a Steam deal on it or something. It was like $20 or $15 or something, but
I think I got it on a Humble Bundle as well.
Yeah, it's just I picked it up maybe once or twice, and I was like, nah. It's also really kind of slow. There's a lot of it doesn't run very well. There's a lot of bugs, or I should say, not a lot of bugs, but it isn't that well optimized.
Yeah. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I feel like my mic is probably picking up my little brothers in the background.
Oh yeah. I'm sure my son. You could probably hear him earlier with my wife carrying him around the house.
You know what? Luckily, I haven't heard a single thing.
Oh, these you guys can't see it at home, but behind me are these sort of soundproof panels that I'm using to help cut down on that.
Are you sure it's that and not just vampire drapes behind you?
Yeah, they're vampire drapes. Yeah,
a big cape.
Yeah, I drink blood behind these things because that's they're made for drinking blood.
Mm-hmm. The lighting is fake as well.
Yeah, you know, God, I have to. My neighborhood is kind of. I live sort of near a freeway, and it's sort of loud, and so I have these like blackout curtains covering the windows, and I have these big bananas in size, actually larger than that, large panels that I have to have just to cut down on hearing all that crap because my neighbor's dogs are loud and whatnot.
Yeah,
but
someone let the dogs out.
Someone, and we all know who. Are you good to continue?
Yes.
Yeah, Game Guru. Totally clunky. And so now you're focused more so in Construct and still Unity, right? You're still going to use it for projects.
Hell yeah.
Do you like the direction that Unity's gone in the last 5 years?
Yeah, I really like how they're making it like quicker to pump out things. Before you'd have to try to implement every last tool that you wanted, and then trying or just paying for loads of assets that are probably not going to be supported after a year. And I think the way they've tried to democratize game development, it's actually for the best. And you could probably see it, and it shows from how many Unity games chart at the top of the App Store or Steam or even PlayStation or any console. And yeah, it's definitely opened up a lot of doors. And what was it compared to Construct? Sometimes I'd say the performance is heavenly.
Yeah,
yeah, in some ways.
Yeah. Have you tried Godot? What are your thoughts on Godot?
I think I tried to use it 2 years ago, and just to test out the GD script. It wasn't. I didn't like the syntax because I was so used to Unity's, and then I tried to make a quick tile map, and that frustrated the hell out of me because I had to open up multiple windows at the time. I'm not sure if they changed the workflow, but yeah, I ended up quitting it for a while. And then when I heard about they're adding C# and also similar syntax to Unity for the scripting, I tried it again. It was actually, it felt great, nice to use, but I just couldn't wrap my head around the node system, even though it's similar to the prefabs and nested prefabs, but on a whole nother level, where the whole scene, the whole layout is a node, just like everything else.
I can't do it, man. Nodes in editing, like video editing software, nodes in Blender, that stuff is just, for whatever reason, I have a hard time focusing and understanding completely what's going on.
Yeah, it takes a while. And and also I think at the time I was making fun of all of these if you went to any game development post on Reddit or Twitter or YouTube, there's always this hundreds of comments saying, "Hey, you should check out Godot. Have you seen Godot Jesus yet? Believe in the node. Here's the node.
Follow the node.
Node to you."
Yeah. I've certainly considered it. I've thought about trying it out, but I know that there's going to be more coding and stuff involved than I want to do. And I know that sounds annoying because that's exactly what we're doing, making games. Yeah. But that's why I chose Construct in the first place, was avoiding all of that. But you don't have to not use it. Do you use JavaScript in Construct?
Since I was so used to using C# and C++, I've always been a bit scared of JavaScript, because they were sometimes doing the most weirdest code somehow gives you the best performance, and some doesn't. It's like it feels. How should I say it?
Counterintuitive.
It feels chaotic. Yeah.
Okay.
Big chaotic energy from JavaScript. Also, semicolons don't do anything. Blasphemy.
Really?
Well, I'm so used to just a semicolon at the end of code, whatever, that not being there always feels weird if it's not there, not getting like an error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Java's scrappy. That's such a bad pun. Well, I'm excited to see what you do with how gun golf turns out. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be even more juicy. And
I think I haven't touched gun golf in over a year, and I have like this folder that I can never delete because Windows thinks it's not there for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah, and I haven't touched that game in a year because I think me and Josh Stuffed Wombat, we got burnt out on that game because of some publisher stuff, discussions that took too long. We ended up getting burnt out on that game and tried to do other stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has that happened before, burning out on stuff?
Well, we tried to learn our lessons from every project, so it doesn't happen often.
Yeah. You guys work together a lot?
Well, we try each other's games, give each other feedback. I think for nearly a year we did, since Josh, I got to know Stuffed Wombat through his server of solo developers. He invites like a bunch of developers that he's seen on Twitter, or the group of people suggest, invite this person. And we'd usually in that server we would talk, do some play tests of each other's games, send links of a build. And I think we even had like a thing that we'd do every Sunday. So every Sunday, 6 p.m., everyone just sends their builds, enters voice chat. Someone tries the game. Josh comes in. Okay, I don't like the controls. Or so this thing is wrong. You need to fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the harshest critic, but the best critic just for that.
Yeah, getting honest, valuable feedback is really hard to get. And I find myself constantly looking for it. I mean, sometimes you're going to get, I should reach out more on the Discord server for that, I think. But I think sometimes too, you have to be like extremely specific. Like, I'm aware all these other things are problems. I'm looking for feedback on this particular feature. You kind of have to do that in order to get the type of advice you're wanting.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's I work with these filmmakers all the time, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and they work together so well when they're directing stuff. And I often feel like maybe there's someone to, I have this like soulmate developer that I'm looking for that can kind of be my better half and help me balance a game and remove features that aren't working or things like that. But that's a tall order, I think. I think a lot of people want that, but it's hard.
I always felt like that didn't exist, at least before I end up trying to get a work in game development. While I was trying to learn, there was always people, all I knew was people saying, oh, game development, making games isn't worth it. Become a doctor instead. All the immigrants, the
of course.
Parents trope, get very high grades and you'll do well in life. And due to that, I was always surrounded by people who weren't interested in like the arts. I always felt like I was the only one there, so I had to keep that little passion burning as much as I could before I lost it. And to be honest, actually, when I went into university, I went into a specific game development kind of course, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't take out the flame of my passion a bit, seeing all these people that joined the course that wanted to make games, but for some reason were more passionate about playing them than making them.
Yeah.
And that screwed with me a bit.
Yeah.
For a while until I basically came across Twitter and found all of these developers that would post GIFs.
Yeah.
Of things that they're working on, and I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for any of that.
Yeah, that's my whole Twitter feed, and it does something. It kind of keeps you inspired.
Oh yeah.
Kind of makes you feel like you're not alone.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
As an indie dev, right? That's like one of the biggest things. It's like you're not sitting next to someone usually.
You're in a dark room. Some sound effects going. Yeah.
We're in this weird culture now where like nobody wants to call each other. It's always like text or Discord, like messaging each other, and there's like all of that like face-to-face personal interaction stuff is missing. A lot of times, that stuff really helps.
Oh hell yeah! And that's where I got all my how I learned to juice. That juice was a thing in games as well.
Yeah, can you tell the people listening the importance of juice? Because I think you've nailed it.
So I think, how should I say it? So I think if you don't have juice, it's basically just a life. It feels so like you're looking at a lifeless animal, as harsh as it is to say. You're looking at an animal right in the eye that has no life in it. It's just standing there. It might be a doll. Give it some juice, comes to life. It wants to jump up and give you a hug.
It's like equivalent to looking at a giraffe that's made out of stone and looking at a real giraffe.
You gotta, head height.
It's like, it's cool. That's technically a giraffe. It's not moving and it has no life at all. It's static and boring. You got it down, man. Every time your games are always interesting to watch. I don't know where the GIF is going. Even if it's nothing crazy, you're just platforming, you're jumping from one place to the other. I find it really hard to take my eyes off. It's interesting. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, not to mention, you also spend a lot of time making your controls unique and well done, but the adding juice to that really helps. And the importance of a GIF these days on Twitter is.
Yeah, I think I think the couple things that usually are a good sign is if someone could tell how the game plays off of just watching like a few seconds, you're probably on the right track.
Yeah.
So if someone can't figure out what it is from like in the first like 5 seconds, this might be something wrong, or there's too much to it. So I think if you were working on if someone was working on, I don't know, let's say Sid Meier was posting a GIF of his game, no one would understand it at first. So there is some good ideas and bad ideas that can come from trying to think that way, but in the end, it's more useful than not useful.
Yeah, I think it probably helps you tighten up your focus, if anything.
You always got to have that core loop defined as quickly as possible, or risk being all over the place and not having like people losing interest. Like imagine like a multiplayer game, no, a single player game, but having like forced in multiplayer on the side that's not fleshed out in any way or something like that.
Yeah,
that used to happen a lot.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if the game that I'm working on I could make solid GIFs out of. I think so. But yeah, what you said is wise words. You want that. You want to be able to show what's going on. 5 seconds, what is happening, and if you have to constantly explain, well, this doesn't make sense yet because of this, then maybe there's a problem.
Oh yeah, if you're always giving an excuse to something, you probably need to remove something or just tighten it. Yeah.
You've got it, man.
Yeah.
You've got it. Man, I appreciate you being on today. I'm not sure why I didn't have you on sooner. Early on when I joined the Discord, you had helped me with figuring out this exact type of stuff. Figuring out what the hell I'm working on, figuring out what the core loop is and figuring out the other elements of the game and help you sort of start to piece together all these things in your head. So I appreciate that. Did you move to France or something and then...
Yeah, I was working for a hyper-casual game, mobile games company, and it was quite fun to work there. But, yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us, are you allowed to talk a little bit about that? Or?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest, but maybe a bit.
You basically moved from home there for a little bit and worked with them on mobile games?
Yeah, I think I worked on multiple little games with small scopes, but always had to be like a game that had to be playable within like the first 3 days. The core loop, like straight up, and then out and tested in the second week. After the second week,
they were just churning out games, basically.
Yeah, and I think, but the thing that was the most important while doing that was trying to make the core loop instantly, which was, as I said, 2-3 days. And then having like making it as juicy as possible, since that sells the gameplay more than anything.
So were you doing it on your own? Was it sort of the same thing?
It was like teams of 2 at most, like working on the game, and then other people part of the team that handle other stuff, like visual, some other extra stuff on the side, so like technical, store and other stuff, and just 2 that just work on the game and pumping out the art, the code, and then using the tools that were made to make things quicker to do, like the development.
I see. So they sort of pair people that's a little more strong technically and someone who's a little bit more artistic in the...
Yeah, or some people could just do solo, and those are the unicorns. I wanted to be called a unicorn, but I wasn't as good as them.
I mean, looking at your projects, I think you're at least like a baby unicorn.
Slow and steady.
But okay, and then you move back home to the UK.
Yeah, I couldn't quite cut it, I guess.
I mean, man, I feel like everyone sort of, a lot of the biggest games that have ever existed, they were turned away at some point, or someone said it wasn't good enough, or that they couldn't cut it as a developer. I don't know. I think if you know inside, then and it's just a matter of proving them. Because if they were so huge, why aren't they huge? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And even people that are huge aren't even right all the time. So.
But there's always, I think, there's always like survivorship bias here and there for people that do succeed. Like, or some that don't succeed, they always think, I didn't even deserve to be there, or what was it, imposter syndrome? Every developer that I've seen, they don't feel like, they don't deserve what they've made so far, or they don't even think that they even deserve to be paid more than they're asking for and other stuff. But, people eventually get over it some way or another, or never do.
Yeah. I think some of that has to do with people understanding that there's some randomness to it and some like luck in landing something big.
Game development is a roguelike, confirmed.
Yeah, I think when I was talking to Tynan Sylvester, he was talking about that. He's not afraid that he can't make another good game. He's just worried that RimWorld was a fluke, maybe. That was a huge success, and it was one of his first games. I
can't imagine working on a very successful game and then thinking, if the one game that you release it does really good, how can you outdo that previous one? It was scary.
Yeah.
To worry about.
I think there's someone behind you with a knife. I heard a creaky door. You might want to just turn around and make sure that.
Oh no!
You're
I
safe.
just closed it right behind me.
You might have to jump out a window.
Oh yeah. Turn on the Mission Impossible soundtrack for me while I run.
Yeah, and I think you're always going to chase that. If you get a taste of it, you're always going to be chasing that success again, and like fighting against that fear of potential failure.
Yeah.
But
it's even scarier to having to think. I mean, imagine you're on your last ropes in that last project. The latest project is going to be like sink or swim. I think those are even scarier. Just an even scarier situation to be in.
Yeah, for those guys that have mortgaged their house and stuff like that.
I am too much of a coward to ever even think about trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are sort of penny pinchers in that regard. I mean, I try to pay people when I need them, and I try to hire people that are stronger in areas that I'm just not strong in. But yeah, it is nothing like running a small game studio or nothing close to AAA.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and the thing that I while I was trying to get to where I am now, I was trying to figure out how to make something while I was trying to make my first games, trying to make them as good as possible. I always, in the back of my mind, tried to think about trying to pay people. But the problem I had was I was a broke kid. Yeah. With no money to spend on anything. So the best thing that I had was time. And all I did was try to draw assets. That were that I would say were placeholders, but secretly they were no placeholders. Yeah. And if someone ever critiqued my art, I would say, "Oh, that's just a placeholder. Don't worry." And then they'd see it at the end. They would say, "Oh, you lied to me." But it helped boost my confidence a bit. It forced me to go out of my comfort zone to learn multiple new things, and it helped me to be able to communicate with different people with different skill sets to make them understand what I'm trying to talk about. So if I was talking about art, I would try to use some film terms and stuff. If I needed to do some UI, I wouldn't talk to anyone, and I would just look at a wall angrily screaming, "I don't want to do this."
UI
is hell.
Yeah.
I always try to make sure I never do any UI, and the way I try to do it is by using whatever's in the game. Since you played Bubbun, did you notice there weren't a menu that you had to click or anything?
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. The title was just on the first level, and a massive input sprite was above you in there that would only animate if you pressed that specific key, and that was the way that I tried to make sure that I didn't have to do a tutorial and a UI, and I always tried to pull that just so I don't ever have to do UI.
Oh man, we were talking about Spider-Man earlier, and I look at their UI and I'm like, oh man, someone had to design this, and this. I mean, it looks great, but man, that process probably sucked.
A spider web of upgrade trees. Yeah.
But UI is one of those things. Like, I think if you don't need to see all that stuff, then don't put it in there. It's just stuff blocking your viewport. Why do you put it in there unless you need it? I'm even weird about like determining whether I need to put in, like, in the menu having music volumes and sound effects volumes and dialogue volumes. I appreciate people doing that, but I feel like, why am I going to mess, unless the mix is bad, why am I going to mess with it and turn down globally all the music and all the sound effects or whatever? And I can kind of see why people might like it. Maybe they want to listen to their own soundtrack and they just want to turn down. Because that was my problem with No Man's Sky. I actually kind of liked that I could just ditch that music because I was not a fan of the No Man's Sky soundtrack.
I think it's procedural as well, the way they do it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think I heard something about, we have 100 what was it, albums in there. Just I don't know what they do to the music to make it supposedly procedural, but it's a lot of things, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that the music was bad for me. It just didn't fit what I wanted to feel when I played the game. So I ended up loading a bunch of music from, like, the Interstellar soundtrack and stuff through Spotify on the console and stuff. But so I appreciate that. But yeah, it's weird to me that people would want control over sound effects volumes, and I don't know.
I wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
When it comes to creative stuff, do you think it's better to be a person that's more well-read in multiple types of media? So like books, comics, film, audio, anything, music, yeah.
I mean, I think so, right? I mean, I don't know if it's like, it means that you're going to be necessarily better at it, but the more, I guess, inspiration or the more things you can pull ideas from, then that probably helps you come up with things a little better.
Well, everything's a remix.
Yeah,
except when I do it.
everyone is standing on the shoulder of giants on some level. So, the more giants you know of, the maybe more of the boost, I guess, you have over the next guy. But
it's kind of like how every superhero movie is just a redoing of the hero's tale, like the same arc.
Yeah.
Equilibrium, climax, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But, I look at something like, Richard Lem's game, The Mighty Goose, and I just think, how much of that is inspired by Metal Slug? Well, a good amount of the gameplay is, but it's a different game. And how much was him making a goose with a gun on his arm or whatever, a big gun? How much of that was pulled from something else he saw? It's on some level, it's just sitting down and just not, limiting yourself to one train of thought, I guess, and just sort of.
It's also, I think, it also just develops from like a small idea every game. So I think Richard, I think at first Mighty Duck wasn't even a game to him. It was supposed to be like a weekend project. And he ended up, he had it as a goal on his Patreon. If he gets X amount of patrons, he'll start making this little game. And then he fell in, I think after a while, he fell in love with the whole idea of it, that he pushed it even bigger and bigger. And he's much rewarded for that.
Yeah.
And I hope it keeps being rewarded for that. I want to see that game.
Yeah. I need to check in with him now, too, actually, about that. I remember when we talked about it the first time, it's almost been a year now, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, since he started it. Which reminds me, which reminds me, I need to do more episodes. Sorry, people, for the wait. Believe it or not, it's actually hard to find people that want to talk about their games. Well, Salman, I appreciate you coming on today. I'm going to hold you to that game jam thing because I got to do one, and I feel like you're going to tell me that it sucks or not, whatever I'm doing. So, and give me constructive criticism.
Yes, definitely will.
You're gonna compare it to my mom, how wet she is, or whatever, slippery.
If you want funny reviews on your games, release your game on Newgrounds, and you'll get comments like, "This game hurt my little sister's ears." 5 out of 5. Yeah, and weird stuff like that.
man. Yeah, that's funny. What a odd note.
Oh yeah.
This game hurt my little sister's ears. It's like,
Yeah.
what exactly, how exactly do you analyze that without more specifics? Like, was your volume up too high and that's my problem?
Yeah.
Is it the music? Is everything distorting? Like, well, how am I supposed to help you? Sorry about your little sister, but how am I supposed to help you? All right, man. It's good talking to you.
It's good talking to you as well.
And I'm sure we'll be talking in the near future. So for those of you listening, Salman can be followed on Twitter at Salman, SALMAN _ shh, the sound you make when people are talking during movies. And Salman also has a Patreon. So if you want access to more of his resources and access to him, you can donate something there. Thank you all for listening to the In Spite of Everything podcast. If you have questions you'd like to ask on future podcasts, or you'd like to be a guest and talk shop with me, send me an email at isoepodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, follow ISO Podcast on Twitter to stay up to date with new episodes. And until next time, happy constructing, everyone.